Out-of-control theft of cables and essential infrastructure threatens South Africa's future growth prospects, investment, employment security, livelihoods and community safety. Now, unions in particular have called on workers across the board to protect cable theft and vandalism of infrastructure. We're joined by Tahir Maepa, Secretary General of the Public Service and Commercial Union of South Africa, for more. A very good evening to you, Tahir. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Perhaps you can contextualize and really give, paint the picture of the scale of the problem to date. What are the realities of the ground in terms of the issues experienced?
Well, the problems that we're experiencing with vandalism and cable theft are really out of control. And the cost, the human cost of this thieving and vandalism, it's just mind-boggling. We're talking billions of rands that we are losing on a yearly basis due to this kind of criminality. And what we don't understand is that, we cannot continue taking an attitude of I see nothing, I hear nothing. We as a society, us as trade unions, we have more to lose if we don't tackle this issue. Yeah. Because workers are going to lose jobs. More new jobs are not going to be created. Forget about having to get a sizable salary increment. We have seen it now in the public service where government is saying that they don't have money to pay more salaries. Because instead of putting money into development, infrastructure development, they have to fix what we already have. Yeah. And there's people who are just making billions and billions of rands out of our own infrastructure. And me and you, a lot of people think that, I'm not working, it doesn't affect me. But every citizen, everybody who's in this country is a taxpayer. Because the moment you go to a shop and buy Coca-Cola, you are paying tax. You are paying towards this particular infrastructure. And if we are not going to defend it, we are the ones who are going to suffer the consequences. Yeah. Therefore, it's our responsibility to rise up and say that enough is enough. We are not going to allow this country to be run by mobsters and criminals whilst we, the people, are suffering. Look at what happened in Krisani Baragwanath. I mean, this is one of the most evil acts that I've ever seen. A person really snuffing out lives of our own people just to make few rands. It's unacceptable, and we cannot allow it to continue.
You're absolutely right about the knock-on effects, both on the loss of production and wages. And, there have been calls to date for there to be declared a state of disaster in relation to the vandalism that occurs. And I wonder how you'd weigh in on that. Do you think that warrants any results?
Look, I'm not sure how state of emergency is going to help, because, state of emergency also has got a negative impact. It's not only going to affect the criminals themselves. In fact, criminals, they love chaos. Where they chaos, they thrive. So I think what needs to happen is that we have almost 60 million citizens of this country. And I can assure you, these thieves, these criminals are a handful. If we as society, we can take a resolution to say that one of our resolutions next year, forget about these funny resolutions that we take, is that we are going to confront these criminals. We are going to make sure that we rid our communities of these criminals. Because if you stop the guys who are digging the cables, the guys who are making the actual money are not going to get the cables, so you stop the whole value chain. But the value chain will continue, because at the end of the day, every time a cable is stolen, there's jobs that are affected, there's millions of rands that are lost, and there's a ripple effect in terms of other issues like health and safety and so forth. So we cannot just sit back and say that this is a problem of the government. And we only have about, 270,000 police officers, 140 that are active. It's not going to be enough. Yeah. But if all of us, we can come in and say that we are going to be part of a solution and deal with these criminals, we'll be able to thrive and we'll be able to be successful.
So then walk us through what you want union members to actually do. I mean, in a peaceful way, obviously, not to promote violence in itself as you stop the thieves from the vandalism and theft. What do you want them to do?
Well, we're not going to encourage any violence. And obviously, we know that some of these criminals are armed and so forth. But at the end of the day, you know what? If we don't do something, you are going to end up in hospital and you're going to die because somebody is going to steal copper in any case. Rather die trying to prevent it from happening. I'm not suggesting that we must be violent, but unfortunately, this situation cannot just be dealt with in a lovey-dovey fashion. It cannot be. And the act, the law of this country empowers us as citizens to arrest criminals, even if we are not police officers. All that we have to do, we must look at the circumstances and make sure that we are able to apprehend such individuals. If we can't, let's make sure that we make the police aware of these kinds of criminality. Because to dig a hole and take out the cable, it takes some time. And some people, instead of calling the police, they just take videos and they laugh about it. And tomorrow morning they blame government that there's no electricity. We can't continue like this.
So with, you spoke about the value chain, and perhaps since this call to action, what has been the response from members? Have they recorded any incidences or reported any incidents? What's it look like?
Well, insofar as PSCU is concerned, this is part of our resolution that we took in our previous conference, that we cannot always go to conferences and say that we are going to demand 10%. Demand 10%, and after getting 10%, then what? I said to one of my colleagues to say that, you know what, I would rather have a situation government employs and fill the 200,000 vacant positions that are available in the public service and take 3%. Because chances are there will be somebody in my household who will be bringing in 10,000 instead of 200 bucks. So we need to approach these things differently. We need to look at the holistic society, because it doesn't help that I'm the only breadwinner in my household who's working. My children are educated, but they are not working, and there's no chance of them ever getting jobs. But if I'm willing to sacrifice that 200 bucks for my child to get 10,000 rand and be employed, I'll do it in any day. But it's going to require a different mind shift. And we need to be honest with the workers that some of the things that affect us from not getting living wage is things like this. Because if government is losing about 30 billion in infrastructure theft, they must plow it back. That is the money that was supposed to be coming to us. So if we stop that looting, if we stop that thieving, chances are in future we'll be able to get sizable living wages.
Tahir, thank you very much for joining us here on the SABC. Tahir Maepa, Secretary General of the Public Service and Commercial Union of South Africa, really calling on union members to protect and safeguard against the theft, cable theft and vandalism. Again, a call to action that they're going to be taking a firm stance on in the coming new year.